Kicking off another brand new broadcast day here. It is the Steve Gruber Show, launching the broadcast and Real America's Voice and MTN networks, fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Who do you want in your foxhole when you're up against it? Three big things to know this hour. Number one, Democrats have been making demands in the Jeffrey Epstein case, including subpoenas. Well, good news. It looks like Bill and Hillary Clinton may be first to get served. Number two, a probe by the World Economic Forum has found that Klaus Schwab has not been a good boy at all. Lots of spending and a lot of inappropriate behavior. And number three, oh, what a tangled web the deep state has weaved as we find out more and more about the Russiagate scandal and the man who led the whole effort to undermine the American government, former President Barack Obama. It is the crime of the century. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has done it again, declassifying a report from the House Intelligence Committee in 2020 that just blows the lid off how far Obama and his gang were willing to go in deceiving the American people with a Russia interference hoax and undermine President Trump and deceive the nation altogether. She calls them out on all of it, and all of them by name. Listen to this.
Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact.
Yeah. The report was published in 2020 with a small sector of intelligence community, but has been kept highly classified ever since. Adam Schiff was chair of the committee at the time, and, you know, he was working overtime to keep it from the light of day because he wanted it to be true. The House Intel Committee concluded that the 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment, or ICA, on Russian interference in the election was a, quote, high-profile product ordered by the president, directed by senior IC agency heads, and created by just 5 CIA analysts, subject to unusual directives from the president and senior political appointees, and not properly coordinated within CIA or the IC, ensuring it would be published without significant challenges to its conclusions. They created fiction and then insulated it. They lied and then made sure nobody could challenge the lies. That's what that is. Here's DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard on the release of this report and its significance.
The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration.
Exactly right. Now let's dig into it. The committee found that then CIA Director John Brennan ordered the publication of cherry-picked information that was, quote, unreliable and implausible to support the assessment that Putin preferred Trump over Hillary Clinton while leaving out troves of information that actually showed the opposite. The committee's report actually finds that Putin prefers Trump. That narrative was based on, quote, one scant, unclear, and unverifiable fragment of a sentence from one of the substandard reports. That's it. That's the whole basis. The report goes on to assert that the Trump-Russia collusion information that was published after the election was done so at the direction of President Barack Obama against veteran CIA officers' judgment that the information was, in fact, flawed and substandard. Experienced CIA officers had issued their judgment that the information that Obama wanted made public did not meet, quote, longstanding publication standards. It just wasn't up to par. He knew that. He went ahead with it anyway. He claimed the election was hacked right after earlier in October telling Donald Trump to stop whining about the possibility of a rigged election. Yeah, this is unbelievable. Remember this? Do we have the bite?
I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts. You start whining before the game's even over? If whenever things are going badly for you and you lose, you start blaming somebody else, then you don't have what it takes to be in this job. Because there are a lot of times when things don't go our way or my way. That's okay. You fight through it. You work through it. You try to accomplish your goals. But the larger point that I want to emphasize here is that there is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections, in part because they're so decentralized and the numbers of votes involved. There's no evidence that that has happened in the past or that there are instances in which that will happen this time. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
There you have it. Barack Obama said that you couldn't interfere with an American election. Yet it wasn't 3 months later that very same Barack Obama crafted an entire narrative around the election being rigged against Hillary Clinton, even though he knew that was a blatant lie. A lie he maintained and still does to this day. And here's the bombshell. There was evidence to suggest that Vladimir Putin actually preferred Hillary Clinton because he had blackmail on her, lots of it. He believed she would stand with Russia because she was the most vulnerable candidate because of the dirt that they had. Page 17 of the report. It lists some of the dirt that Russia had on Hillary Clinton, dirt that could have released if Putin really had truly favored Trump over her. Claims that Hillary was on heavy tranquilizers, suffering from intensified psycho-emotional problems, evidence of severe health ailments like type 2 diabetes and ischemic heart disease. Just goes on and on and on. Internal DNC comms that Obama and others found Hillary's health extraordinarily alarming. This was all in Putin's possession. He didn't release it because he thought she was going to win. We'll pick it up from there when we come back. Good morning. It's the Steve Gruber Show. There were concerns during the 2016 election cycle that Hillary Clinton was not well. Remember this when they tried to stuff her into a van? She was stumbling along, and she couldn't even stand up on her own. You can see that she's leaned up against a concrete post. And then they come to either side of her to make it, and then she almost falls. They almost lose her here because all her weight goes down. Bam! We played this over and over back then, saying there's something wrong here. Oh, no, she just had, just a little fainting spell, whatever, wrong. They tried to attribute it to pneumonia, but it was obviously something much worse. We were right again. And how about this one, if you remember? Play it.
Senator Warren. Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
I've had it.
It is delicious, isn't it?
Okay.
Do you remember that? Really? Try the cold chai? I'll take a double shot, apparently. Play that again, Anthony. Roll that again. That is so weird.
Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren?
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
Yeah, apparently I need to try the cold chai. And she tried to play it off. Oh, she's just having fun. No, there was something very wrong there. She short-circuited. I mean, you can see the confusion and shock on the face of the reporters. They knew something was off, way off. Covering up Joe Biden's health problems wasn't new for the deep state. They'd done it before for Hillary Clinton and who knows who else. Other damning dirt the Russians had include evidence of secret meetings with religious leaders where Clinton offered significant increases in funding from the State Department in return for their support. Internal Democrat admissions that European allies were unenthusiastic about a Clinton presidency and thought she was not up to the job as head of state. And John Brennan, he buried all of it. You see, this changes everything. This means everything she did, all the money and the time that she put into crafting the Steele dossier along with her team, could very well have been a ploy to slip out from under the thumb of Putin's blackmail. With the help of Obama and the others, Brennan, Comey, Clapper, McCabe, and the like, she tried to get ahead of whatever Putin had on her by completely discrediting the Russians in the first place. The Clinton-Obama enterprise set out to make Donald Trump the patsy, to make him look like a Russian asset so that when the time came, she could discredit any damaging information put out by the Russians as fake, dirt being flung to sway the election for Trump. You see, the deep state was counting on Hillary Clinton winning, so they could then cover their tracks, cover up the egregious spying done at the direction of the President of the United States, Barack Obama. But something strange happened on the way to the ballot box. Trump won. An inconceivable wrench in their carefully laid plans. So what did they do? Well, they just reloaded. They used the same plays they had in their sleeves, the Russia hoax, as a post-election coup that would keep the public occupied and distracted from looking into the Clinton-Obama crimes. Let's take another look at the timeline based on what we know. Trump comes down the escalator June 16, 2025. Based on Friday's release of declassified documents, DHS tells Clapper there was no indication that Russia will hack the election. That happened August 31, 2016. This is something they were already looking into that early. But despite that assessment, and others just like it, according to the House report released yesterday, the CIA, quote, rushed the ICA's production in order to publish 2 weeks before President-elect Trump was sworn in. It was published January the 6th, 2017. Trump sworn in the 20th of January, of course. He faced an uphill battle for the rest of his presidency because of it. The House Intelligence Committee completed its report on the FBI's mishandling of the Steele dossier September of 2020, but it was never publicly released until yesterday. And then this. The FBI raided Mar-a-Lago August the 8th, 2022. Could it have been a panicked attempt to retrieve damning Crossfire Hurricane documents? We know that President Trump was bogged down by the deep state during his first administration. Could he have been looking into the depths of it while out of office? And now this week. Friday, we saw the declassification of hundreds of pages of communication detailing President Obama's role in burying a presidential daily brief on the conclusion that Russia did not hack the election and ordering a new assessment that became the Russia hoax. He ordered a narrative. And one more thing I want to point out. Donald Trump was president-elect at the time, meaning that he would have been given the same presidential daily briefs that Obama was getting, and that would be motivation enough to bury that PDB before Trump could see it. In my opinion, because it would have undermined the fake classified briefing that Clapper and Comey and Brennan gave Trump later. They wanted him on the record so they could say he's been briefed on this. On Monday, Attorney General Bondi released the Clinton Annex, showcasing James Comey's FBI and its handling of the investigation into Hillary Clinton. And yesterday, we've got the House report that shows even more definitively just how baseless the Russia hoax was and how President Obama was at the helm directing it all. Out of respect for the presidency, our office does not normally dignify the constant nonsense and misinformation flowing out of this White House with a response, but these claims are outrageous, said Obama, and they merit one. These bizarre allegations are ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction. Wrong. Nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election but did not successfully manipulate any votes. Here's what his office has to say in a rare public statement. Out of respect for the presidency, as I just said. That's what Barack Obama said. Obama does not specifically refute the evidence that he overruled 16 U.S. intelligence agencies in 2016, and then DNI James Clapper, who said Russia did not alter and did not have the capability to alter the outcome of the U.S. election in favor of Trump. It's all there, folks, but here's something else. Before we move on from this, I want you to think about this. Trump was elected, he undermined their whole mission. Now, they tried to manipulate the 2016 election. They were successful in 2020. If you think this is messy, wait till the truth comes out about 2020, and it will. It will. When Donald Trump says he won 3 elections, it's because he won 3 elections. I'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. I want to go back to the whole Barack Obama-led interference of the election of Donald Trump and everything that happened afterwards. From the meeting on December 9, 2016, through all the manipulation of 2017 and beyond that led to impeachments and chaos and nonsense. Whatever happened to the peaceful transfer of power that I hear the Democrats blather on about? This was anything but the peaceful transfer of power. This was an attack on our republic. Now, having said that, new information today. New information today, there's going to be a federal strike force. There's going to be a federal strike force. I know because my good friend John Solomon told me so. What is a federal strike force? Well, it's a way for there to be federal agents involved without involving the people that lead the DOJ. Pam Bondi will be out of the way. Tulsi Gabbard will be out of the way. The close circle of advisors of the president will be out of the way. And a federal strike force, this is what's normally used when they go after gangsters, mobsters, or drug cartels. This is how they do it. They put together the best investigators and they go in there and they go after it. We'll have more of that as we continue the conversation. At the Wellness Company, we believe your health is your greatest asset. From natural supplements to comprehensive medical consultations, we offer doctor-developed solutions designed to support your heart, immune system, and overall well-being. Our daily essentials and immune support formulas give your body the nutrients it needs to thrive. If you're ready to take charge of your health journey, join our membership program for access to 24/7 virtual care from experts, exclusive discounts on supplements, and personalized health plans just for you. Visit twc.health/Gruber, twc.health/Gruber. Do that today and take care of your health. The promo code Gruber, you'll save 10% at the Wellness Company, where healthcare meets self-care. Yeah. These stories are not going away. But remember, folks, if you would, follow me on all the social media platforms. I'm looking for 25 new followers today on YouTube, Twitter X, and Facebook. Can you help me out? Can you help a brother out? Let's get some following. Slap the like button, too. Let's do that in. Slap that like button. I'll be right back. And welcome back to the program. I don't know how else to describe it, except it is the crime of the century. Look, everything that was laid out by Tulsi Gabbard at the podium it's the biggest scandal in American history. Tulsi Gabbard saying she has referred the former President Barack Obama and many members of his team, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and so many more, for the Department of Justice to decide what the crimes they committed are. And when challenged by reporters, she said, do your homework. Look at the paperwork. somebody who's been looking at the paperwork deeply and breaking numerous stories on this, my good friend, investigative reporter John Solomon. Nobody's better when it comes to finding these things. John, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
I don't think I can overstate. I don't think I can overstate the magnitude of what was laid out in the Jim Brady briefing room today. Tulsi Gabbard, she was blunt to the point, and she had the documents stacked. And telling the media, do your job, was also pretty telling. How serious is this in your estimation?
Well, listen, it gets real serious very quickly if the next step from this criminal referral is that the Justice Department under Pam Bondi names a federal strike force. Let's bring people up to speed. In April, FBI Director Kash Patel opened a grand conspiracy case looking at the era of weaponization, the summer of 16, Russia collusion, all the way through Jack Smith in the summer of 24 as one ongoing conspiracy. Now that's the beginning. It predicates a criminal investigation. But the next step is for the Justice Department to empower that with agents and prosecutors, much like they would pursue the mob in a conspiracy case or a drug cartel or a drug kingpin. If Pam Bondi comes out in the next few days and announces that she's naming a federal strike force, which would be the normal vehicle for treating a conspiracy case like this, this becomes very serious. It means that John Brennan, James Comey, their deputies, Barack Obama, and others are in the crosshairs of a criminal investigation, and one where the statute of limitations normally would have expired on something in 16, but when you look at it as an ongoing conspiracy case, all of a sudden things that happened 8-9 years ago can be brought in charged as part of an ongoing conspiracy. It becomes real serious real quickly. Now, if she doesn't do that, it's just another history lesson, a sad one for our country, one of the darkest moments in our country, but it becomes serious when the Justice Department engages.
Now, it sounds to me, John, like you have a pretty good inkling that this federal strike force is a likely outcome and soon. And having said that, look, we don't have to go too far to say James Clapper, John Brennan, they put themselves out there on television on a weekly, sometimes a daily basis, and they told things that were simply false. We know that now, and they weren't the only ones. I saw Susan Rice, Andy McCabe, the list goes on. They all lied over and over again for fame and fortune, I guess. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They searched everything. They went through the underwear drawer, for God's sake. This is all part of this ongoing conspiracy, isn't it? That's how you can use a federal strike force and not have the statute of limitations impede your progress. Am I understanding that properly?
Yeah, you do. Lying to the media won't be a charged crime because if people were charged for lying to media, the prisons would be a lot fuller than they are today. At least politicians would be in there.
Fair point.
But lying to Congress, withholding information from Congress, misusing the color of a government authority to protect someone or to pursue someone who didn't deserve to be investigated, like Donald Trump or Carter Page, those are ongoing crimes, misleading a federal court. And I think all of those are going to be considered as overt acts in a conspiracy. Now, whether it gets to a crime, we know there was a political conspiracy to get Trump, right? We know it. We've documented it. Does it rise to criminality? Well, those would be the charges. They'd be looking at things like violating the civil liberties, misprision of color, or misuse of authority to violate someone's civil liberties. That could be something applied to Carter Page or to Donald Trump. Fraudulently deceiving the American people during an election. That could be potentially a charge. So the strike force would be the vehicle by which you gather the evidence and start applying it to the law and then report back to the justice. We think we have crimes that are prosecutable, and then most likely the next step would be a special prosecutor, because remember, Pam Bondi's boss, Donald Trump, is the victim here. They probably want to create some independence and some autonomy so that there's not a conflict of interest. Then they probably name a special counsel if the strike force reports back that they have found prosecutable crimes.
And so that's the point of the strike force, is to put some separation between the current president and the former president and everything that went on. I want to ask you some of the other things that turned up in the documents today that has not been focused on a lot today. Hillary Clinton's general condition. We saw the videos of her making strange facial gestures. The day that she had to be basically carried into a van, they surrounded her and tried to block the video, but we all saw it. It looked like she was not under her own power at all, and loaded into a van with some very large bodyguards and so forth. What have we learned about Hillary Clinton? I don't know if she has criminal charges in all this, but certainly it does reveal her state of mind, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, listen, that's something that a jury's going to have to decide. Prosecutors have to decide whether they go that route. But what we do know is that Barack Obama knew in July, before the FBI opened up Crossfire Hurricane and Russia collusion, the bogus case, that Hillary Clinton was going to concoct and had approved concocting a fake scandal on Donald Trump, specifically alleging Putin and he were going to try to work together. He and Trump and Putin would work together to hijack the 2016 election. Despite knowing that that was the plan and that it was a dirty political trick, not an actual intelligence operation, the FBI opened up a criminal case based on her evidence, the Steele dossier, and certainly that's how they got the FISA warrant. And
Right.
Barack Obama didn't stop them. Then they went to a FISA court with the Steele dossier. Barack Obama didn't stop them. Donald Trump wins. Hillary Clinton loses. The intelligence community is about to declare that Vladimir Putin didn't have a preferred candidate, and Barack Obama stops it. And he orders a new intelligence operation, which comes to a different conclusion by using, the Steele dossier. And then, before Barack Obama leaves office in January 2017, the FBI has concluded that Michael Flynn has not done anything wrong. President Trump's national security. It's time to end the criminal investigation. He didn't engage in any crimes. Barack Obama presides over a meeting to figure out how they can keep Mike Flynn on the hook, maybe get him into an interview where they can catch him lying and prosecute him. It was such a troubling meeting that an FBI supervisor wrote a note to himself saying, what's our goal, to get the truth or try to catch someone or trap someone into a lie so we can prosecute him? He was that disturbed by what he witnessed in the White House. What's the commonality there? Barack Obama, Barack Obama, Barack Obama. That's why today, for the first time, you heard Tulsi Gabbard confirm she has referred Barack Obama as one of the suspects for DOJ to be investigated.
If you look at this, John, we got about just under a minute left here.
Yeah.
Obama, Clinton, Brennan Clapper, Comey, McCabe, heck, Nellie Orr, Vindman. There's all sorts of names that come to mind that were in this orbit, if you will, right? Who's the most vulnerable?
Listen, I think we're going to have to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, which is something that didn't happen to Donald Trump for the last 9 years. I won't fall into that trap. James Comey and John Brennan have a lot of activity during this time frame that has been challenged by the evidence. I think they're probably nervous. I want to remind people of one thing. The immunity ruling last year probably protects Barack Obama from being prosecuted, but it doesn't protect him from being named as an unindicted co-conspirator in somebody else's indictment. And so one of the dynamics to watch.
Correct.
You're not going to see Barack Obama hauled away in handcuffs. I'm sorry, it's not happening. You might see him named as an unindicted co-conspirator based on those events if prosecutors decide a crime occurred with these different facts we've laid out. We'll have to just let the system play out, but it has to start with DOJ. They got to get someone working on it. They need a prosecutor, a strike force.
We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, wait and see. John Solomon on the Cutting Edge, investigative reporter. Best there is, justthenews.com if you want to find out more. I appreciate John being here. We'll take a break and be right back on the Steve Gruber Show. Pretty remarkable, the conversation with John Solomon. And look, if you want to find out more about what John's doing, justthenews.com, or you can catch him on Real America's Voice every night at 6, Just the News, No Noise. It is remarkable. He has Amanda Head as his wingman there. All right, so this federal strike force, I'm told, is in place. That they're moving to put it in place, a federal strike force. And so they're going to be going after Comey, Brennan, McCabe, Nellie Orr, Vindman, I don't know, whoever's on the list, right? Of people that played along or played in critical roles in the manipulation of the United States government in pursuit of a false flag known as Russian interference. It was bogus. It was bogus. All of it. And yet 60% of Democrats still believe it's real because they live in a vacuum. We'll be following that closely because it's criminal behavior is what it is. Wonder what Esquire Bob has to say about all of it. He's not too excitable, generally speaking. He looks at the legal facts and says this is possible, this isn't likely, maybe this. So think about the law. It's not black and white. It's not like math, you know. Math has certainty. The law is playing with words. Meanwhile, a House panel directs the chairman to subpoena Bill and Hillary Clinton in the Epstein probe. So you want action in the Epstein probe, Democrats? Well, you're going to get it. Yep, you're going to get it. A House panel yesterday voting in favor of a subpoena for former President Bill Clinton and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, Republican, offered a motion during a House Oversight Committee subcommittee hearing to call on committee chair James Comer of Kentucky to subpoena people with possible links to Ghislaine Maxwell, the imprisoned former associate of the late pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of pictures of Bill Clinton. It was Bill Clinton's picture that adorned his flat in New York City, his mansion, if you will. Jeffrey Epstein lived in a fabulous place. Here's how it went. I have a motion to subpoena the following individuals to expand the full committee's investigation into Miss Maxwell. The list reads as follows: William Jefferson Clinton, Hillary Diane Rodham Clinton, James Brian Comey, Loretta Elizabeth Lynch, Eric Hampton Holder, Merrick Brian Garland, Robert Swan Mueller III, William Pelham Barr, Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, and Alberto Gonzalez. That's the full list, Mr. Chairman, and that's the motion. It passed, by the way. So what happens? The subpoenas would actually need to be issued by Comer to be active. House Oversight Committee aide told Fox News the subpoenas will be issued in the near future. It's going to happen. You want action in the Epstein investigation? It's going to happen. Subpoenas to all those people. Now, will they comply to these congressional subpoenas or ignore them? If they ignore them, will they be treated like Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon? Arrested. Put in jail. That's the bar. That's the precedent that's been set just recently by the Democrats for refusing a congressional subpoena. It comes after Summer Lee, a Pennsylvania member of the Progressive Squad, pushed for a vote of her own motion to subpoena any files related to Epstein. That motion passed an 8-2 vote, also directing Comer to issue that subpoena. Republican lawmakers dealing with a rash of demands, so they met some demands of their own. Subpoena these people, bring them in, let them answer questions. At Trump's direction, the DOJ is moving to have grand jury files related to the Epstein case unsealed. Yesterday, that was denied by a federal court. Not over yet. Bondi looking into whether imprisoned former Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell will speak with federal authorities as well. So Andy Biggs, another member of the subcommittee, successfully got Lee's amendment altered to also call for the release of Biden administration communications related to Epstein. So they're going after all of it. You want it out there? Let's put it all out. I happen to agree with that. Let's just get it all on the table, shall we? Let's get it out there. Let's get it done. Yeah, let's get it done. This program takes support from great people. Great support from great people. If you haven't heard about PuroVet, you should. PuroClean is a reclamation company, a restoration company, with more than 500 offices across the country. If there's a hurricane, a tornado, a mudslide, a flood, a natural disaster, a man-made disaster, doesn't matter. But if you're a veteran, pay close attention. PuroVet is an opportunity to get to the front of the line. Have your franchise fees covered by PuroClean. Get you into an ownership position and move forward. And this segment of the program proudly sponsored by PuroClean's veteran initiative, PuroVet, where veterans find purpose in property restoration and entrepreneurship. We salute those who served. PuroVet's a way to say thank you in a real serious way. 855-PuroVet or purovet.com, and you can find out more. Like I say, it takes great partners to make this possible every single day, and they're one of them. And we appreciate their support. We appreciate working with them. Also, if you want the best coffee around, how about 1775 coffee? If you love coffee, you're going to love this. Introducing Rejuvenate. Mushroom specialty blends from 1775 coffee as well. Two powerful new coffee lines that go a long way beyond just having coffee. Rejuvenate's the first ever coffee infused with CAAKG. It's a clinically studied ingredient that supports energy, strength, and healthy aging at the cellular level. So when I'm drinking coffee every day, I'm not just drinking coffee. There's also mushroom specialty blends. They combine rich premium coffee with adaptogenic mushrooms that help boost immunity, reduce inflammation, increase energy, may even reverse biological aging by up to 8 years. How do I look? Here's the best part. You can try them in a brand new starter kit. It's a $200 value. Yours is just $99. You get 3 full-size bags of coffee, dark roast, medium roast, and new anti-aging Rejuvenate, plus exclusive merch, a matte black tumbler stamped with unapologetic freedom quotes, and a lot more. Go to 1775 Coffee before they're gone. 1775coffee.com. Promo code, of course, Gruber. All right, back at it now as we head toward the back end of this day. Look, Klaus Schwab has not been a good boy. I'm really shocked to hear that. Klaus Schwab has been a bad boy. The Davos founder rejects preliminary findings of misconduct, including improper travel expenses and gifts. The probe, in which the World Economic Forum's board launched in April in response to a whistleblower complaint, found evidence that Schwab made comments to a female employee that were suggestive and inappropriate. Do you feel that I am thinking of you? Schwab wrote in one late night June 2020 email to a senior female executive. No, Chuck, I don't. The preliminary findings described by people familiar with the matter and documents reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. Through a spokesman, Schwab broadly rejected the findings, defending his 55-year tenure as the forum's public face and most senior executive. Yeah, it threatens to deepen the schism between Schwab and trustees seeking to chart a path forward for the forum without the man who built it into a global enterprise, Davos. Ah, yes. Schwab is 87, and at 84, he was still lurking after women, apparently. He stepped down over Easter and no longer has a role with the forum. He's pushed back aggressively against the allegations threatening his legacy. Now we'll see who they put in charge. Yeah, let's see. He spent hundreds of millions of dollars, apparently, traveling around first class. Of course he did. He took advantage of you idiots. You'd believe anything he said, so he took advantage of it. How easy was that? You idiots. Anyhow, Charles Schwab. All right, coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk about community policing, how we need to get back to the basics, blocking and tackling. We're going to have Larry Allen, Alex Taunton here. A flagrant violation of law. Is our Constitution dead, or will people be held accountable for what has happened here with the Barack Obama attack on all of it? We'll find out. A lot more to cover here as we continue this great day at the Steve Gruber Show. So much to dig out. I'll be back. You know what this is? This is the relentless pursuit of truth as we kick off another brand new hour here at the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom. Who do you want in your foxhole? It's a serious question. If you were down to it, who would you want to be shoulder to shoulder with, fighting for freedom or fighting for anything else? Glad to have you here. Remember, the Steve Gruber Show can result in an extended period of American pride and optimism and uncontrollable enthusiasm about this country's future. We're live in all 50 states and around the world. You ready? Let's go. Here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, President Trump declared yesterday that America will win the global race on AI and high tech, and he signed his name to the effort to make sure it happens. Number two, was Hillary Clinton heavily medicated? Was she on drugs? Did Russia know it? Did they hold damning evidence thinking she would be elected in 16? It sure looks that way. And number three, brand new Russiagate evidence, pointing to just one person that backed and pushed the attacks on President Donald Trump, and that is the former president, Barack Obama. He was not alone in his criminal deceit. No, he had help, a lot of help from, let me see, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, Nellie Orr, Vindman, Susan Rice. The list just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? It does. And so much to cover here today. Remember when Chuck Schumer told us, and you go back and you look at some of these pieces historically now, thank God for the internet. Because you go back and you look at some of these things and say, hey, I can see this through a whole different light now. Remember when Chuck Schumer, in the first few days of January 2017, told us the intel community could destroy President Trump? I think he knew what was coming. Listen to this.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
Rachel Maddow, useful idiot, being manipulated by Chuck Schumer. He knew. He knew. It was all fake. Evelyn Farkas admitted in 2017 the Obama team was spying on the Trump team. They all knew it. Here, listen to these cards get thrown on the table.
Knew about this attempt to get and preserve information, and full transparency, we're doing some work yourself. Tell us about that.
Well, I was urging my former colleagues and frankly speaking, the people on the Hill. It was more actually aimed at telling the Hill people, get as much information as you can, get as much intelligence as you can before President Obama leaves the administration, because I had a fear that somehow that information would disappear with the senior people who left. So it would be hidden away in the bureaucracy, that the Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff's dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods, meaning we would no longer have access to that intelligence. So I became very worried because not enough was coming out into the open, and I knew that there was more. So we have very good intelligence on Russia. So then I had talked to some of my former colleagues, and I knew that they were trying to also help get information to the Hill.
Yeah. So just so we're clear on this, so we had information on Trump's people talking to the Russians. We didn't want to lose that information. Well, how would you have that? How would you have that? That's illegal. Doesn't matter. John Brennan, among a whole herd of people that needs a team of lawyers. He was dumb enough to parade around on TV, lying every step of the way about the Steele dossier. He's now been referred to the DOJ, and yes, he has lawyered up. We just learned, but just a reminder of the things that were said. Here, go.
When did you first learn of the so-called Steele dossier and what Christopher Steele was doing?
Well, it was not a very well-kept secret among press circles. for several months before it came out. And it was in late summer of 2016 when there were some individuals from the various U.S. news outlets who asked me about my familiarity with it. And I had heard just snippets about it. I did not know what was in there. I did not see it until later in that year. I think it was in December. But I was unaware of the provenance of it as well as what was in it. And it did not play any role whatsoever in the intelligence community assessment that was done, that was presented to then President Obama and then President-elect Trump.
It's remarkable how Chuck Todd actually takes himself, he's all humped over serious questions. Chuck Todd's a joke, which is why nobody watches his podcast. You know, you see some people that leave mainstream media and become real powerhouses because they're telling the truth. Megyn Kelly comes to mind. Cheryl Atkinson comes to mind. There are some real heavy hitters out there that get it done every day because they're honest journalists. He's a joke. Chuck Todd's a joke. Always will be. Here's a little something, blast from the past. Former senator, Democrat senator, majority leader at one time, Harry Reid. He's dead now, of course, but here we are back in 2016, 2017. He said give Donald Trump fake briefings, lie to him. Apparently this was just what they did on the left and in the intel communities. Listen to this.
And what I've suggested, if now, because he's the nominee for the party, and he's entitled to briefings from the CIA, for example, I said publicly, give him fake briefings. Pretend you're briefing him. Don't tell him anything that you don't want to get out.
Now bring it back.
As a Republican nominee,
it doesn't matter. There's Harry Reid telling him to lie. All of this lying is over because Tulsi Gabbard said she has referred Barack Obama to the Justice Department, and he was the leader of this whole circus of dishonesty and crime. Here she is yesterday.
And what I've suggested...
Believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
Yeah. There you have it. They're all being referred, including, yes, Barack Obama, is what she said. I don't know where this goes, folks, but it's going somewhere, and we need to hold these people accountable for the crimes they have committed. I'll be back. All right. Well, Lance Laruso is the principal of the Laruso Law Firm and the founder of the Blue Line Lawyer Institute, a former law enforcement officer, 2021 FOP Attorney of the Year, and author of When Cops Kill in Blue News. He's joining me now because we have to reinstate law and order in this country. Lance, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
There is a renewed support for law enforcement in this country. And, you know, there's a push for law and order in this country, Lance, that we haven't seen in a bit. And look, we look around, we see this lawlessness in the streets. I think people are just sick and tired of it. Time to get back to the basic blocking and tackling, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, it's really kind of interesting when you say there's a renewed focus. When I talk about this in Blue News, law enforcement is terrible about telling their own story because they don't have any First Amendment protection when they're wearing those uniforms. So they're really at the mercy of what the media, the formal media or the informal media, is saying. So I don't think you're seeing a change in support. I think the public overwhelmingly supports law enforcement. I think what you're seeing is a reporting of just how much support there is. Because I think you're correct. I think people are tired of not being able to go to the grocery store, not being able to put their kids on a school bus, and worse, I think they're tired of people being accepting and excusing abject criminality.
Yeah. I think people want, you know, one thing that people want from their government is to be safe. That's it. I mean, that's the basic threshold of what people vote for, isn't it?
It is, and I'll go a step further. It is the primary obligation of government. It's, you know, when you talk about before clean streets, before sewers, before running water, it is the primary obligation of government to secure the safety and freedom of the people under their charge. And that's gotten lost in a lot of organizations across the country, whether they're small cities, big cities, states, and they've forgotten what their obligations are. They need to go back to their third grade civics teachers and ask for a refresher.
Did they have third grade civics anymore? Do they even teach that stuff? That's what I wonder about. I mean, you've got people that would have you believe that the police are the enemy. And I think that this permeates through our public education system. Police are the enemy. Don't work with people deporting illegal aliens. Don't trust the police. They're racist and all this other nonsense. It's just awful, isn't it?
Well, it is. And you know, and people ask me how I deal with this all the time. I mean, I represent officers, you know, pretty much all over the country in one way or another, and I'm traveling all over. I'm encouraged, and I'm encouraged because so many good people are still going into and staying in law enforcement. The other thing that I'm really encouraged by is that they had their social experiment, the defund the police movement. They had their day. Everybody got the coverage. They got their best shot at it. It is the fastest conceived, implemented, and failed social policy in United States history.
Yeah, it is a terrible failed policy. Defund the police. And, you know, you still got people that want to do this. This communist that is the Democrat nominee in New York City to be mayor, he still wants to eliminate the police department and replace them with social workers or something like that. I'm like, what is wrong with these people, honestly?
Well, this is what's kind of funny about that. First of all, you say, why are some people still sticking to it? So as I've been fond of saying, when your only tool is a shovel, all you know is to do is to keep digging. But the concept that we're not going to defund the police, we're going to reallocate resources to social programs and mental health counselors, they could have done that 30 years ago. Law enforcement officers are handling mental health calls because no one else is doing it. No one else is training folks to do it. No one else is stepping up and saying, I'll respond at 4:30 in the morning to the person who is hearing demons in their head and scaring the daylights out of their family and needs intervention. But the notion that law enforcement is the problem is just so pervasive in some of these people's minds, they just can't think about it. And when you get to, you know, what are they thinking? What are they doing? The much maligned and much misunderstood blue line flag, the blue line concept, it is not for some wall of silence. It symbolizes the blue line, the line between order and anarchy. And it makes you wonder, somebody who truly wants to do away with the police, they are either incredibly ignorant, thinking that law enforcement is not needed for a safe society, or they truly want anarchy.
Or they truly want anarchy, and you have to wonder, looking around, maybe they do. Maybe that is what they want, Lance. All right, so moving forward, how do we give the people what they want? How do we give people security? How do we give people a sense of safety in their own homes, in their own neighborhoods?
First and foremost, remember that even the biggest police department probably has 2, maybe 3 recruiters. Everyone in the community, and like I said, the public overwhelmingly supports law enforcement. You need to be the best recruiter for your police agency that serves you. Go find the best and the brightest to be part of it. Go talk to the people who are there and encourage them to stay. Go and thank them when you see them on the street, and then pray at night that they stay safe.
No question. Time to step forward. All right. How do people get involved? I mean, because to me, in order to get involved, you have to vote in every election, not just presidential election. You have to vote in the local election. Make sure you're voting in municipal elections. Make sure you're voting in county elections. You have to, in order for it to work, you have to be heard. And that's my takeaway. I'll give you the last word.
Sure, absolutely. And I'll go a step further. You've heard the comment, you've been doing this a long time, that all politics is local. All politics is grassroots. Go to the town square. Go to the city council meeting. Go to the budgetary meetings. Be heard. Speak out for these law enforcement officers because, like I said, they can't speak out for themselves. They have no First Amendment rights when they're wearing that uniform. Be their voice because they're going to be your protectors and your warriors when you need one to protect you.
Absolutely true. Lance, greatly appreciate what you're doing out there. Lance Laruso, principal of the Laruso Law Firm, and so much more. Really appreciate you taking the time and talking about this today.
My honor to represent these heroes. Stay safe.
There you have it. Thank you. All right. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in just a moment. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Remember, you can always send me an email, your comments, your concerns. What do you want to hear? What do you think about any topic we cover? Go to stevegruber.com. I try to read every one of them. Can't necessarily respond to all of them, but I read them all. And you write a lot, so it takes some time. I'll be right back. There's a battle going on in a lot of places around this country when it comes to long-term versus short-term rentals, right? There is. Long-term versus short-term rentals. In Michigan, where I live, it's a $1.5 billion industry is Airbnb and VRBO and all those things. But a lot of people are like, we don't want that here anymore. We don't want that. City of Dearborn, for example, banned short-term rentals from its residential neighborhoods at a recent city council meeting. Now short-term rentals like Airbnb not allowed in areas zoned as single-family residential. That's the big-ticket item, Hassan Abbas, the senior press secretary for Dearborn's Department of Communications, said. Airbnb said there was economic harm to the community by such bans. Airbnb stated short-term rentals accounted for $1.4 billion in gross domestic product in Michigan in 2024 and added that $354.6 million in tax revenue also brought in. Pretty remarkable. Banning short-term rentals in entire neighborhoods violates constitutional property rights of local residents who rely on sharing their home to pay bills and mortgages, and threatens local businesses that depend on visitor foot traffic, with guests across Michigan spending an average of $622 on goods and services when they stay. So what do you think about that? A whole host of Well, vacation destinations, those vacation times, they, and those vacation towns, they rely on this money. And if it's banned, they're going to lose a lot of revenue. Plus, a lot of these folks couldn't afford these houses unless they were doing some renting, right? They would not be able to afford it. What do you make of it? Send me an email. I'm really curious as to what you think of it. I am really curious. Go to stevegruber.com, send me an email. Like I said, I try to read them all. I don't get to respond to all of them, but I try to read them all. And I'm pretty good at it mostly. All right, I'll take a break and be back. When we come back, Larry Alex Taunton will be here. A lot to talk about with Larry. It's been a while. Is the Constitution dead or alive in these heady days of July 2025? We'll talk about it straight ahead on the Steve Gruber Show. This doesn't surprise me, but it does disappoint me. And I just found a remarkable statistic, to say the least. The legacy media, the mainstream media, those guys have given almost zero coverage to the release of documents, more than 100 pages by Tulsi Gabbard, that paints a very damning picture of Barack Obama and all the people around him. John Brennan, James Clapper, Andy McCabe, let's see, Nellie Orr, Who else is involved in this web of conspiracy? There's a whole host of folks. I'd be a little concerned. Jeanine Pirro has the ability to come after all these folks as the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, including politicians. She can nail them all, but I'm going to bring in Larry Alex Taunton, award-winning author, freelance columnist, friend of mine, to weigh in. Larry, it's been a bit since we spoke. Hope you're doing well, but let's talk about this. The mainstream media is basically gone moot on this. We're not going to. I think it's the biggest scandal in American political history. Until just a couple of weeks ago, I had pushed the AutoPen scandal higher. But now with these new documents, the AutoPen has fallen back into second place, and here we are. Your thoughts?
Well, we're dealing with incredibly corrupt, awful human beings. And they behaved with extraordinary arrogance, Steve, and it's because they felt they could, that the Constitution doesn't apply to them, the laws of the land don't apply to them. They could treat the American people with utter contempt, and they could do things like this. And until someone is prosecuted, it may very well be that they're right.
We need to see some action here. We need to see something happen here. We need to look. Brennan and Clapper and Comey, from what I can tell, and that's just the short list, they all lied to Congress. I mean, are there any ramifications anymore to sit and lie to senators and members of the House and just say, whatever, spew whatever you want and lie? Fact of the matter is they got an intelligence agency report before the 9th of December when they all went in the Situation Room and got together so nobody could hear what they're talking about and hatched this scheme to take what Hillary Clinton had bought and paid for in the Steele dossier and manufacture something that would undermine President Trump for his entire term. And they almost pulled off a coup. Not quite, but almost pulled it off. Pretty dangerous stuff, really.
Yeah, well, we just released today on my podcast, Ideas Have Consequences, available on YouTube, by the way, an episode on the deep state. And the deep state is real. Now, some people hear that phrase and they go, oh, this is some kind of whacked out conspiracy theory. What we mean by deep state, what I mean by deep state, is a permanent, embedded, unelected bureaucracy that is resistant to the will of the people and that does as it pleases, and they protect each other. And that's what we're really talking about here. So Obama didn't act alone. As you said in your introduction to this particular segment, there's a whole host of people who are involved here, members of Congress, a former First Lady, a senator, people at the Justice Department, people in the Defense Department, intelligence agencies, all who are part of a conspiracy to resist the will of the American people and to push forward their own agenda with utter disregard to the laws of the land.
Now, I went back and checked the AutoPen scorecard, right? I mentioned that a moment ago. So I went back and checked. None of the folks that we're talking about here got immunity. None of these people got pardoned. None of these people got these preemptive pardons that were being passed around. So that means when I say Jeanine Pirro, look, she's a bulldog, and she's got experience, and she's not afraid of any of these people, and she's the acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. She actually has real power here to potentially take some of these people and bring them down. I don't know if it's going to happen, but she is one of the people that I would say, you know what? If I was, James Clapper, I'd be nervous about her. If I was Jim Comey, I'd be nervous about her. If I was John Brennan, I'd be nervous about her because she is, I believe, fearless, and she has tremendous experience in this world as well, doesn't she?
She does. And to those who are listening to us, this isn't about revenge. This isn't about political revenge. This is about justice.
That's right.
And for America to be great again, it must start with justice. There must be equal application of the law across the board for everyone. And we will never be great again as a people until our Congress, until our government is purged of its corrupt elements, and until some people are prosecuted here. And that absolutely needs to happen. These are people who have shredded the Constitution. These people are corrupt absolutely to their core. And we're actually talking treason.
We are. Isn't it funny,
there
though?
must be some serious prosecutions here. Now, let me say this, Steve.
All
Some
right.
people are wondering, including myself, I've said this on social media. Why haven't there been any prosecutions yet? I want to urge people to be patient. Trump is 6 months into his term. They don't want to prosecute prematurely. They want to build a very solid case, because otherwise you risk unintentionally vindicating these people, or giving the impression that they're vindicated. So I think they're building their case. I also think they're waiting for the right time regarding the midterms.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. These folks that sit there and criticize Trump all day. Oh, he demands absolute, adherence, and they have to kiss the ring of this. Fact of the matter is, when you look at this, Larry, it seems to me that it's Obama that wanted the ring kissed. You look at the people around Obama. What they are projecting on Donald Trump is exactly what Obama behaved. And that's a fact. And the more evidence we see, the more clear it becomes, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not the ring they're kissing on Obama. Let's just be pretty clear about that. We know Barack Obama's proclivities, but we also know that Barack Obama is a traitor. We know that this is a man who is guilty of treason, who gives the window front of being a gentleman. He gives the window front of being for the people. But this is a guy who was trained by Saul Alinsky and is using Marxist tactics against the American people. And he worked very hard to create an atmosphere of assassination against Donald Trump. And he nearly got exactly what he wanted 1 year ago. But this is the worst president. I'm not using hyperbole here. This is the worst president in American history. And the type of corruption we're talking about here, it makes Watergate look like just a big bunch of nothing.
It was a big bunch of nothing if you really go back and look at it. Certainly compared to all of this. What Obama did was orchestrate a coup. It's funny, and I go back to another example of the irony, the hypocrisy. Democrats talking about Donald Trump refused the peaceful transfer of power. No, he didn't. He didn't show up at the inauguration, and so what? Barack Obama openly, he openly attacked the peaceful transfer of power by going after his successor. He interfered blatantly. I mean, how else we look? We got about a minute left here. I'll give you the last word.
Well, that's absolutely true. And I'm going to segue into a slightly different topic here that you bring up that I think is actually significant. I now kind of think that it was possibly a good thing that Trump had this 4-year hiatus.
I agree.
It was terrible for the American people, but in the end, it may be very good, because Trump, I think, grossly underestimated the deep state his first go around.
Larry,
he
you're
definitely
exactly
has
right.
not this time.
I got to leave it there, but you're exactly right. He took 4 years off, figured out how he got banged up the first time, and he came back in ready, prepared, and with experience. Larry Alex Taunton. You can find him on all the ordinary places. Larry, as always, thank you.
Always good to see you, buddy.
We'll take a break and be right back. Life is certainly busy. You're running around all the time, taking care of the kids, taking care of yourself, making sure the bills are paid, all those sorts of things, right? Imagine going about your life, paying those bills, maintaining your home, and then you find out one day, on paper at least, you don't own it anymore. That is the reality of title fraud, a growing epidemic for homeowners across this country, and it happens when someone forges your name on a deed, files it with the county, transfers ownership of your property without you even knowing it. And you don't know it's happened until you get a notice of eviction or foreclosure in the mail. It may sound like something out of a movie, but my friends, trust me, this is real. It happened to my next guest, Jennifer Washington. She's a title fraud victim. She joins me now. Jennifer, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
All right, so tell us about this. What you have an ordinary day, you're running around, you're paying your bills, taking care of the things you need to take care of, and all of a sudden you look down and you say, what is this? Tell us what happened.
Well, it was just a regular, normal day, and I started getting notices in the mail. Welcome to the neighborhood, new ownership, home warranty letters.
Sure.
You know, asking
The normal
for
stuff.
home warranty policies. Yes, the normal stuff. And I'm like, this seems strange because we've been here the whole time.
So you're getting new ownership notices, and you lived in the house how long?
We've had ownership over the house over 30 years now.
And so, okay, welcome to the neighborhood. Here's home warranty information if you'd like to sign up. Did you think anything of it at first?
The first couple letters, maybe it was just, some kind of typo. But then when they really started rolling in, it's like, okay, something's not right here. So I asked friends and family, hey, how do you get to the bottom of this? And I was referred to look under the county website for the recorder of deeds. And that's where it was discovered that the house had been removed from ownership.
Man, what a feeling. What was that? What did that feel like in the pit of your stomach?
Complete violation. I mean, it was one of the worst feelings I've ever had. You're powerless. You don't know how someone does it, how they're able to get it done without you even knowing.
Yeah, and so there you are, the letters come, you kind of dismiss them, then you're like, well, what's up here? Then you find out somebody has pulled this remarkable scam on a house you've owned for 30 years, been paying your mortgage, doing your thing, building equity, and suddenly they're taking it away from you. I think I'd feel violated as well. What do you do at that point when you realize something's that wrong, really very wrong?
Well, I started to, the first step was I went to the recorder of deeds office. Well, I started calling them, and of course you can never get a live person when you're
Right.
calling any government agency. So then I scheduled a visit, went over, and I paid for the records, and it showed who transferred the deed over, and I requested a certified copy. I asked them, well, how did they allow this to happen? And they informed me that as long as the paperwork is correct, it's only their jobs to file the paperwork. They do not investigate fraud.
They didn't care.
So,
They
no, it was a
didn't
dead
care.
end.
Wow.
It was not concerned whatsoever.
That's frightening. So now you have no legal standing in your own home. You've hit a dead end. You've hit a wall here because the county doesn't care. They're like, take that up with somebody else. Then what? Then what do you do? Do you start investigating? I mean, do you call people? Do you get a PI? What happens next?
At this point, I'm going along with family members to find out what we can do to get an attorney to fight this. And of course, that would be astronomical to
Sure.
fight in court, not knowing, because life is still going on.
Right. You got everything else
bills
you
are
still have to
still
take care of
going.
in life. Yeah, I understand. All right. So then at some point through this process, through this horrifying process, I can't even imagine. Because you're right. You try to call somebody, you get a machine. You try to ask somebody, not their department. They send you to somebody else. They say, not their department. You just get passed around. Nobody cares. So how did you first hear about home title lock? Tell me about that.
Well, there was a policy opened on the residence months prior to, and it was on automatic payment. So I really wasn't concerned with what it was. So I looked into it and investigated it. looked up the company itself and found out this is my angel in disguise.
So you had gotten home title lock, or somebody in the household had, weren't really paying attention to it, small price to pay, and then you find out, my gosh, I've got a remedy here. Tell me about that.
Well, after I realized what the company was for, I gave them a call to report what had happened. I had all my printouts, and I also had the certified copy of the transfer of the deed.
Sure.
And I contacted them. And at the point that I had contacted them, it had not shown up. So they could not see it on their end just as of yet. So I gave them my information, told them everything that was going on. I found my account on the house, and um, once they said they would receive notification, they would reach out to me. And sure enough, within a week and a half, they've called me, they've reached out and let me know that it hit their system, and they were
They're on the case. They were fixing
yeah,
it. And they
yes,
got it done for you. That's the remarkable thing. They got it done. In fact, they'll spend up to $1 million to help people get everything back in their name. Let me just real quickly, what would you say to skeptics? Say, well, that's not really a thing. We got about 20 seconds. What would you say to a skeptic who thinks this can't happen to them?
I never thought it would happen to me, and this was a godsend. And this is probably one of the best things that you could ever do to protect yourself and your home, because fraud is real these days. It is so real.
Real, and people are out there stalking you and your money every day. You can find out more, my friends. This is Jennifer Washington. She's a real victim of home title theft by way of transferring paperwork. You can avoid being a victim by going to HomeTitleLock.com. HomeTitleLock.com. Use the promo code Gruber and learn from this lesson that Jennifer shared. Jennifer, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate it. Again, HomeTitleLock.com. $1 million to back you up. HomeTitleLock.com. Promo code Gruber. I'll be right back.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. A full schedule in Major League Baseball yesterday. There were 10 afternoon games, as a matter of fact. American League winners included Boston, Cleveland, and Houston. National League winners included the New York Mets, Cincinnati, and the LA Dodgers. Just 5 games today in Major League Baseball. In the WNBA, there was just one game last night. Atlanta beat Phoenix on the road 90-79. Alicia Gray led the Dream with 28 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. 3 others were in double-figure scoring as well. Italy's Jonathan Milan won the 17th stage of the Tour de France yesterday. Defending champ Tadej Pogacar maintains his 4-minute, 15-second lead over Jonas Vingegaard with just 4 stages left in this year's Tour. And the next to last tournament on the PGA Tour's regular season schedule begins today. The 3M Open will play its first round in Blaine, Minnesota. Jonathan Vegas is the defending champ. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
Back to Brock in the studio. Steve will be back in the final hour of today's show. It'll be a busy hour number 3. 3 big things you need to know for the final hour of the show. And more guests for you. Hal Lambert, CEO of Point Bridge Capital and creator of the MAGA ETF, analysis and facts for investors who want to align their portfolios with their personal values. Coming up at the bottom of the next hour, it is House Representative Luke Meerman, who represents Michigan's 89th House District, which I believe is between Port Huron and the Detroit suburbs, I believe. People are saying, oh, we need a Doge for Michigan. Well, Steve will talk about that with Representative Meerman. And then coming up near the end of the show, Ivy, the lovely and talented Ivy, will be on with her thoughts on the goings-on in the world of politics and everything else. Sometimes they wander into other things as well. It's all coming up in the final hour of The Steve Gruber Show, and it's all coming up next.
right, welcome back to it as we kick off another big hour here, the Steve Gruber Show. Glad to have you on board. Look, this is where freedom rings true because freedom of speech is paramount. We talk here about everything under the sun and the biggest, most important stories of the day. Three big things this hour. Number one, what happened to journalism in this country? I'm going to talk about that a bit today because we don't know what happened to journalism in this country. They need to be held accountable. Number two, Bill and Hillary Clinton being subpoenaed. And the Democrats had to vote for it in the Jeffrey Epstein matter. Ouch. Apparently, Jeffrey Epstein may have been involved with doing things for the government. Who brought him in? Bill Clinton. And number three, we continue to tear apart everything on this crime of the century, as I call it. It is the crime of the century. It is a remarkable series of events that have been revealed now by Tulsi Gabbard, referring Barack Obama and others. She named names. She did name names. Let's start with bite number 6 here because Tulsi Gabbard, if you missed it in the last couple of hours or didn't see it yesterday, this is the most important series of facts that you're going to hear. Here it is.
Believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just in, two questions, but to begin on that. The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
To undermine President Trump's administration, and what I would say further to that, it wasn't just undermining Donald Trump's administration and his presidency and him personally. It was undermining the United States of America. I've heard the Democrats talk time and again about the peaceful transfer of power, which I agree with, and they were angry about January the 6th and said that Donald Trump had tried to interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. Nothing more egregious than what we've learned here. Nothing more egregious than falsifying information, creating a narrative that was in complete contradiction to what the facts are. The facts from the intelligence assessment was that Russia did not interfere with our elections in any significant way, and they didn't have the technology or the ability to do so in any significant way. And yet, on the 9th of December 2016, Barack Obama and his minions set on a path to say just the opposite. To say just the opposite. And in fact, not long, you've got to hear this. If you missed it in the last hour, you've got to hear this because just before the election, Barack Obama said our elections were in fact safe and couldn't be hacked. Our elections could not be hacked, said Barack Obama in 2016, October, I believe it was. It's bite number 11. I want you to hear this.
I have never seen in my lifetime or in modern political history any presidential candidate trying to discredit the elections and the election process before votes have even taken place. It's unprecedented. It happens to be based on no facts. You start whining before the game's even over? If whenever things are going badly for you and you lose, you start blaming somebody else, then you don't have what it takes to be in this job. Because there are a lot of times when things don't go our way or my way. That's okay. You fight through it. You work through it. You try to accomplish your goals. But the larger point that I want to emphasize here is that there is no serious person out there who would suggest somehow that you could even rig America's elections, in part because they're so decentralized and the numbers of votes involved. There's no evidence that that has happened in the past or that there are instances in which that will happen this time. And so I'd advise Mr. Trump to stop whining and go try to make his case to get votes.
So much to unpack there. Barack Obama. When things don't go your way, you work through it. You work through it, and things don't always go my way. Well, things certainly didn't go their way on the 8th of November 2016, did they? No, things didn't go their way at all. So they worked through it. He said you have to accomplish your goals. Well, they sure tried to do that, didn't they? They almost pulled off a coup, almost. They ran the run in 2016. Did they accomplish it in 2020? You're going to hear information in the next few days and weeks. As the investigation into 2020 becomes more serious, it will involve governors, secretaries of state in the various states. Huge revelations coming. Huge. What you've seen from 2016 is ugly. 2020 may actually be worse. I'm telling you right now, 2020, what we find in that investigation might actually be worse. There has been a federal strike force put in place. What does that mean? It means that there is a team of federal investigators. This is how they go after organized crime. This is how they go after drug cartels. They separate from the executive branch. It's a federal strike force of investigators and prosecutors, and then a special prosecutor will be named. As this federal strike force gathers evidence and assembles the timeline, then a special prosecutor will be named, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There will be a special federal strike force already put together. We'll see how that looks coming up. We'll know more about that throughout the day today and tomorrow. This is the most serious scandal in American history. There's just no debating it at this point. An outgoing administration did its level best to undermine the incoming administration, undermine the will of the American people, and undermine this country. That's what happened. And they almost got away with it. It's taken 9 years to catch up. But we are catching up. I'll take a break. We're going to be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Thank you for being here. All right, here we go, back at it. It's, just a big day here on the program, as they all are. The news cycle doesn't seem to slow down at all. We saw Donald Trump yesterday sign an executive order on AI, saying we will lead the world in AI and high tech. It's all important stuff. And what about all these other issues out there? Cryptocurrency, AI, latency, all these things that are out there. Hal Lambert is the CEO of Point Bridge Capital and the creator of the MAGA ETF. Hal, welcome to the program.
Glad to be here.
Glad to have you here. Analysis and facts for investors who want to align their portfolios with their values. That's what this ETF is about. What does ETF stand for? Tell the folks.
Exchange traded fund. So it's like a mutual fund, but it trades on the stock exchange just like a stock.
All right. So what is in a MAGA ETF compared to, whatever I'd get from my financial advisor, my broker, or somebody else?
Well, it's interesting. I started this about 7 years ago, so it's got a pretty long track record. People were upset, and I was too, with companies like Target, Disney, Nike. They were doing their whole woke thing that they do. And they were protesting these companies, not shopping at them, not going to those stores. And they didn't realize they own them in their own mutual funds. So I decided, look, I need to start something that will allow them to align their values with their investments. And I started looking at it. I was like, I'm very politically involved, and I have an investment firm as well. So I started, I don't want to be the one to decide who's conservative, who's not. And I said, why don't we just follow the money? So I screened the S&P 500 for the political contributions of the PACs, the employees of those companies, to decide where are they giving their money. I don't care what they say. What are they actually doing with their money? And I took the top 150 Republican supporting companies and created an ETF, so people can now invest.
So give me an
based on
idea.
their
What are a couple of these companies?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, like Charles Schwab is a big one. You've got oil and gas companies, obviously. You've got industrials, Lockheed Martin. There's very little tech in this. So if somebody has a lot of technology investments, this is a good diversifier because there's very little tech. As we all know, Silicon Valley is pretty far left. But it's done extremely well. It's compounded like 17% a year for the last 5 years. It's a great way for people who want to invest on their ideology and support companies that support what their views are. We didn't have anything on the right. Everything was on the left. We had ESG and DEI. All these different funds were supporting those ideologies, and nothing on the Republican side. And this is, quite frankly, still one of the only ones on the Republican side.
Well, that's interesting. And so the returns are good. People are supporting, and look, we do similar things here. We try to support companies that support our point of view or our ideological point of view, and we try to partner with as many as we can. And to be honest with you, those that are left of center basically get blocked from ever supporting our programs, which is sad, really. It's not the way it used to be, right, left, center. At the end of the day, we're all supposed to be on the same team, but it doesn't feel that way too many days, does it?
No, as you said, I'm sure there's companies that will not support your program just because they're afraid that, the left's going to come after them. And
that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's a big problem. And I've tried to create something that will be on our side. And look, these are great companies. These are, large market cap companies. And they kind of stay in the background. They're not going to step up and say anything publicly, but they're giving money to elect Republicans, and that's important. As we've seen from this election, if we didn't have Donald Trump and we didn't have the Senate and the House, we wouldn't be getting these executive orders. We wouldn't be getting this legislation, the big beautiful bill that's just been passed. It's massively important economically for everybody. And so that's why I think it's important to invest that way as well.
Yeah. It is important to support your values. And I think this is fascinating. How do people find out more about this ETF, this MAGA ETF you've put together?
Yeah. So the ticker is MAGA. So that's how, if you want to buy it, it's just like a stock. You can buy it at Charles Schwab, TD Ameritrade, wherever you have your brokerage account. And also I have a website called investpolitically.com. So investpolitically.com has the information on the ETF itself. And again, you'll just see the top holdings there. You'll see the performance there, and you can make your decision on what you want to do on it. But again, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in difference in giving when you look at these companies versus the rest of the market. And look, I own Nvidia, I own these other companies as well, but they're pretty left, and the employees are left. They are, and it's frustrating because they're great companies, but they don't support the movement at all, on the Republican side at all.
And I want to just verify what I heard you say: 17% returns over 5 years. Is that correct?
That's correct. Compounded.
I understand.
Per year.
I understand. Per year. 70% per year, which is about double or triple the average fund out there, generally speaking. I mean, it's significantly higher than most people see. I'll just say that. Hal, I got to leave it right there. Hal Lambert, CEO of Point Bridge Capital. You can find MAGA. It's listed on the exchanges. You can find the MAGA ETF out there. Thank you for sharing, Hal.
Yeah, thank you too, Steve.
Greatly appreciated. There you have it, Hal Lambert. If you want to invest in what you believe in and not give money to people you don't believe in, well, there's your opportunity. Something completely different. And 17%, let's be honest, those are strong returns. I don't care who you are. Remember to follow us on social media. Hit the like button whenever possible. In fact, do it repeatedly.
And you can also turn on post notifications. So if you go to Steve's account, Steve doesn't understand this. If you go to Steve's account, you can turn on post notifications so you get notified whenever Steve goes live or posts something. Yep.
Well done, Anthony. I'll take a break and be right back. New legislation here in Michigan, by the way, proposed by Senators Ruth Johnson and Jim Runstead, both Republicans. They introduced a bill that would allow family members and close friends to make critical medical decisions when necessary. It's called the Michigan Medical Treatment Decisions Act. It would not supersede any pre-established patient advocates or directives on file, according to the press release. But the legislation would allow for a family member or close friend to serve as a surrogate decision maker in case of emergency. I think most people believe that's how the system works now, but unfortunately, from a legal perspective, that's not really the case in Michigan, said Johnson. Unless you have a durable power of attorney for health care and it's on file with the health care provider or your loved one knows to bring it with them to the hospital, they might not be able to make decisions for you if you become unable to make them for yourself. An incapacitated person who does not have clear authorized decision-making and decision makers pose legal risks to the health care providers. The American Bar Association noted that 46 states have enacted default surrogate statutes for health care as of December of 22. We're not one of them. It's a common sense reform that's long overdue in Michigan. There's some version of this in the vast majority of other states already, said Johnson. People in Michigan often rush to the hospital when something happens to a family member, only to have frustration added to their concern when they're unable to make any medical decisions at all. This reform would clarify who's able to direct care when time is critical. So what do you think about that? Who's a surrogate? Children? Grandchildren? How far does that reach? I guess we'd have to see the legislation to know, but how do you feel about that? I'm just curious. Don't forget to check out Hillsdale College and its more than 40 free online courses. We have people here raving about it all the time. Yeah, you want to learn more about America? Be America first all the time. Learn about America. 40 free courses. If you want to binge Hillsdale. You can find out more at gruberforhillsdale.com. Gruberforhillsdale.com. These are great programs about the Constitution, the foundings of this country, Christianity, C.S. Lewis. The list goes on. How about knowing how our financial system works, capitalism, all of these things. Gruberforhillsdale.com. What are you waiting for? I'll be right back.
You're mute.
I'd like to see Elon Musk jump back in the fold. I would. Instead of trying to tear down what's already here, how about trying to rebuild what's already here? I'd like to see that. But one of the things that I can't argue with is Doge. the Department of Government Efficiency clawing back billions of dollars for the American taxpayer, not just going willy-nilly into that good night and giving away all that money all the time, which is good, right? A lot of folks think we should have the same sort of thing here in Michigan. I agree with that. State House Representative Luke Meerman, he represents Michigan's 89th House District. He seems to think it might be a good idea, too. He joins me now. Luke, nice to see you today.
Absolutely. Wonderful to see you, sir.
All right, so first of all, the 89th House District, tell folks where that is.
The 89th House District is in Ottawa County, Kent County, and Muskegon, west of Grand Rapids.
All right, western part of Michigan, beautiful part of the state, no question about that. All right, so let's talk about how much. I mean, I keep seeing, I don't understand it, frankly, Luke. We spend $30 billion more annually to run this state than does Pennsylvania, a larger state that spends $30 billion less on their annual budget. How in the world is that possible? But here we are.
Well, like, our famous President Ronald Reagan said, the closest thing to, everlasting life is a government program. So when you give the state of Michigan tax dollars, it will stay here and it will find a place for it. So the best way to constrain government is not to give it money in the first place.
Yeah, or take it away and let it suffocate from no funding. I think that's a great idea. So when you talk about some of these things, Doge, in Lansing, would anybody be willing to do it? I would certainly support it. I think you would support it. I think common sense people say, you're right, we need to find out how we're wasting money, and buying $5,000 coffee makers with taxpayer funds. Where would you start?
Well, I think we need to start at every different level. Again, these programs have been around a long time, and that's one reason they're hard to get out. So Speaker Hall is having us, dive into each budget line by line and look for those places and things that we can save money for the state of Michigan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I understand you've been looking into child welfare. Part of the thing that you have, well, you have experience as a foster parent, I understand. So when you look into the child welfare programs, what do you find? What do you think can be done better? Can we save money? Can we do a better job?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, we can do a better job. Right now, we're looking into these decisions and why these decisions are made by who. and I'm talking about, in particular, decisions to move kids back into homes. And unfortunately, very unfortunately, these kids end up dead. So that's what we've been focusing on. We had a hearing this Tuesday on the Auditor General's report concerning 150 uninvestigated deaths by the CPS system, by DHHS.
Unbelievable. All right, so how do we have more accounting? How many deaths did you just say?
These 150.
How does that happen?
Now, these aren't necessarily connected to abuse, but they were connected to the CPS system at some point, and that's why.
And some were connected to abuse. Maybe not all,
yes,
but some, right?
Yes.
All right, so we need to upgrade the CPS system. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I think it's suffering from a lack of leadership right now. And we need to move this CPS system back into the local level. So much control has been taken up at the state level, and there's no incentive at the local level for them to do a better job.
Yeah. What about the events going and circling Jocelyn Benson, Dana Nessel? I think that there's a lot of questions coming up with Jay DeBoyer and oversight about some of the things that are going on in this state. Jocelyn Benson, Dana Nessel seem immune from ever being held accountable for anything they do. Am I wrong?
Well, the subpoenas, I think, are speaking otherwise right now. And, this is a thing that I think the rest of the nation is watching. This is something you often see happen in Washington. But at the state level, this is a muscle that we need to exercise, and probably isn't as strong as it should be. And that's oversight at the state level. And Speaker Hall has given us the direction and the marching orders to keep the departments accountable. This fourth branch of government, these unelected bureaucrats need to know that there is a we the people.
They certainly do. All right, so I'll let you wrap it up here. Where do you think we need to focus our efforts? Obviously, you've got control of the House, but no movement to the Senate. In fact, the Senate, the 35th Senate district remains empty. No representation. The governor doesn't seem to care about the people that live there, obviously, or she'd call an election. What's next on your list of things to do?
Well, this roads plan, I think you talking about wise use of the people's money, the Michigan House Republicans has this roads plan where we take money that we already have and spend an extra $3 billion on roads. And so we're taking the gas tax and pushing that towards roads. That's what it means to make the best use of people's money. And you'll see through our budgets as we kick them out, we've gone through them with a fine-tooth comb, and we're looking for that money and trying to put it in the right place.
There you go. We'd like to get the roads fixed. Fix the damn roads. Yeah, that was a nice campaign slogan. Too bad it never really happened in practice. We fix about 1 to 1.5% of the roads in Michigan annually. It'll only take a century to catch up. That's all. Luke, thank you for being here. Greatly appreciated, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it, too.
Greatly appreciate it. All right. Meanwhile, staying safe at the beach, there's nothing that says summer quite like a beautiful Lake Michigan or Lake Huron Beach, but more and more of the trips come with a warning sign. Heavy rain, agricultural runoff, goose poop, yeah, toxic algae and other issues. Just in time, the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy has launched a new online tool designed to help beachgoers know what's going on at the beach before you head out. Beach Guard is a notification system from Eagle. You can check it out before you get to the beach. You can find out what the water quality situation is or if the beaches are potentially closed from rip tides, rip currents, or goose. You know, when these geese invade the beach, you know what they leave behind? In the poop, E. coli. This is why you have beaches have high E. coli levels. It's not because of anything else, not because of climate change, it's not because of you, because we have these wildly overpopulated flocks of geese doing their business on the beach. Yeah, that's why.
You remember that that guest you had on who she cried when you said kill the geese?
Yeah, I do. You know what I say? Kill the geese. Did you cry, Anthony?
No, I didn't cry.
You didn't cry. Kill the geese. I mean, we have so many Canada geese now, they don't even migrate. They just spend their winters here. They're too fat to fly. Yeah, everybody's fat, including the geese. Anyhow, I'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Don't go anywhere. I hope Scott Jennings runs for the United States Senate from the state of Kentucky. Of course, Scott is the guy on CNN, Chicken Noodle News, filleting them on a nightly basis. It's a wondrous thing. It brings me great joy. It does. It brings me great joy. In case you missed it yesterday, and this is important, right? This is important. If you want to understand something, you turn to an expert being somebody with experience who can explain it clearly. And I share this with you again. I'll probably share it tomorrow because it's one of the craziest things I've heard in a long time. When it comes to crack cocaine, no bigger expert than Hunter Biden. I mean, who knows crack better than Hunter? You've seen him passed out with a crack pipe in his mouth and everything else, right? Right. Well, in this interview he did recently, which, by the way, he's destroying the family name. He is destroying the Biden family name every time he gets in front of the camera. If you ever, I mean, this is the 3-hour gift that'll keep on giving for a very long time. But here he lays out the idea that you should smoke a crack pipe and not crack a cold one. Right? I mean, Anthony was very enthralled with this, so I thought we'd play it again. Here it is.
No. Do you know what I mean?
Well, because they think cocaine, Scarface, very cool. Yeah. Crack cocaine, they think The Wire.
Oh, in that sense? Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, they don't know how similar the chemical compounds are.
Well, the only difference between crack cocaine and cocaine is sodium bicarbonate and water and heat, literally.
That's it?
That's it.
And those things are pretty much free if you go to, like, a science store.
This is free. You can go to your neighborhood convenience store and just get. Anyway, I don't want to tell people how to make crack cocaine, but it literally is a mayonnaise jar of cocaine and baking soda.
How different is the experience?
It's vastly, vastly different. And like for real, I feel really reluctant to kind of have some euphoric discussion. I know you're not asking me to do that, but have some euphoric discussion about crack cocaine.
I think this might be kind of the opposite here.
Okay, no, it's the exact opposite. I'm saying I don't want to have the experience of some euphoric recall. That's how powerful crack cocaine is. Does crack cocaine make you act any differently? No. Is it safer than alcohol? Probably. People think of crack as being dirty. It's the exact opposite. When you make crack, what you're doing is you're burning off all the impurities so that it combines with the sodium bicarbonate, which makes it smokable. That's all. You know, all of these actors and, you know, people in the past that talked about they had a problem with cocaine and freebasing. They were smoking crack.
So straw on the stove is the same thing?
Not exactly, but close to it. But it's a little bit different. But anyway.
There's your crack expert, Hunter Biden, weighing in. Yeah. He doesn't even want to think about it because he'll have euphoric recall. And yet, crack cocaine is perfectly safe. It's cleaner than alcohol. But if he thinks about it, my God, he'll run over and smoke it. Is that what you got out of that, Anthony? That's what I got out of that.
He knows a lot about that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. He's an expert. Chemical compounds, how it works, you know, this and that. But it's perfectly safe. If it's so safe, why do people's teeth fall out when they get hooked on crack? I didn't think there was an answer. I thought I'd wait for it for a second.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to go to bite 15 here. I've heard the full of crack idea here. Marty McCary. Dr. Marty McCary. One of the guys that was silenced during the COVID pandemic. One of the guys that has pushed back against the accepted narrative. Pick your narrative, whatever it is. Says there's this bizarre cellular manipulation being done to American patients. Their cells are sent to China. The cells are manipulated, returned to the United States for use in medical procedures without anybody even being told about it. Seems absolutely insane to me, but that's why it's been sitting on my list here for a couple of days, because I wanted you to hear it, and then when you hear it, you get to judge for yourselves. Here it is.
Yeah, the companies who were offering a gene editing sort of therapy for individuals, something called CAR T therapy, they were drawing the blood cells of Americans in the United States, then shipping them off to outsource the gene editing to labs in China. This is all recent. It was just approved in the last administration. And then they're shipped back to infuse into Americans. And I thought, oh my God, do people not understand the potential national security risk? And I wonder if these patients were even informed what's going on? Were they just told, hey, we're going to do this therapy, we're going to draw your blood? Did they even really understand what was happening?
Did they? Apparently not. It seems insane, doesn't it, that they would ship your cells out of the country and ship them back? It just seems just absolutely. I mean, how could you do that without notifying the patient? To me, that's just absolutely insane. Anyhow, I don't know. Seems absolutely insane to me. All right. I'm going to wrap this day up with the federal strike force. If you missed it, there's a federal strike force now being put in place to investigate everything that's happened with Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, Andy McCabe, all the people involved with creating a false narrative about the Russia interference in the election, which was never true. In fact, the actual takeaway from the intelligence community was that Russia didn't have the ability to hack our elections and didn't have the technical ability and know-how to do it or pull it off, and had no interest in it because they had a bunch of dirt on Hillary Clinton. They thought she was going to win, and she didn't win. So all the dirt they had on her, including her being heavily sedated and having issues with diabetes and other heart issues, they never used because she didn't win. They held all that information back. It's fascinating, really. Final thoughts on this day in just a moment. Glad you were here. We'll be right back. All right, well, it's been a big day here. That federal strike force is being assembled as we speak. It's going to be out there investigating everything that happened in the 2016 election. The DOJ has gotten the referrals of Barack Obama, John Brennan, James Clapper, and a whole list of other people. They've been referred for investigation and possible prosecution by the Director of National Intelligence. Do you think that she's going to have something happen? I don't know. I don't know if she has something happen. But it is, I don't know that we've ever had the DOJ have referrals from the DNI to pursue a former president. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's never happened. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that has never happened. We're in a very new place. A very new place. And not a good one. Look, I don't take any pleasure in any of this. I think that it concerns me deeply that this whole thing occurred, and it did occur. But I also believe that when you start seeing the dirt come out from 2020, it's going to be worse. Just let that sink in. I think what has happened is terrible. What we're seeing from 2016 is terrible. But they played this game, they ran this game for 4 years with their eye on 2020. And when it got to 2020, they finished the game. But they lost again in 2024. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America, my friends. I'm Steve Gruber. And remember, only you can save America.